Lakeside Dental Clinic, Go Island, is brought to you by Lakeside Dental Clinic.
That's Lyle and Kathy there, and on this edition of Go Island, we're going to talk to them about something that they've experienced that most of us can't even imagine. Junior A and Senior A lacrosse in Nanaimo, an uncertain future. Life in a wheelchair is not a barrier to fishing and archery in Kamloops. You are watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Lyle Horn lost his leg about 26 months ago. We're going to tell you why and how. Kathy McKay has been an amputee since birth. We're sharing their stories with you today on Go Island. The Nanaimo Timberman Lacrosse Junior A and Senior A teams have a very uncertain future ahead of them. Here now is Todd Jones. The Mid-Island Amputee Support Group has been running for about 18 months. We're going to talk a bit about that later on this edition of Go Island. I want to introduce you to Kathy McKay, an amputee since birth. How do you feel about you are an amputee? It's such a label to wrap up an entire identity into.
Right, yeah. Being an amputee is just part of who you are. It's just part of your world. It's this disabled label that I have issues with.
And it's always been a part of you. You were born. What happened?
Well, they're not sure. They think there was some kind of genetic anomaly. And when I was born, my mom was not able to see me for the first 24 hours because I, way back then, they didn't know how to cope with that. Right. How to say your baby's not normal. Right.
And what was it? So you're missing a part of your leg?
I'm missing just it's just above the knee. My amputation is just above the knee.
Some people think it's like the worst thing that could happen to you. We see these movies and people lose legs or arms in various situations. And I think everybody internalizes, oh, if that happened to me, my life would be over. And that's something that the support group and yourself just isn't true. You don't believe that to be true.
No. You cope with it. You learn how to cope with it. You learn what it is. You learn what you need to do in order to be functioning. You find out what fulfills you, and you keep going. I mean, it's a bump in the road. We call it. We say you find a new normal. And your normal evolves. You talked earlier, we touched on a little bit about the teen, being angry about being the victim in your teenage years. When you were a child, you were maybe sheltered and people were handling you more gently because of and now you're just owning it and living through it. Exactly. Well, you have to. I mean, you can't curl up. You need to get going. You need to keep moving. You need to live.
Do you think there's amputees out there that are curling up and not living?
Yeah. I think that there are some people, depending on their support system and how it was presented to them as an amputation, if it was a trauma or whether it was a long onset, possibly do feel that it can be perceived differently. Okay. So I think there are amputees out there that struggle more than others. All right. And personality is a lot of it.
Okay, well, we're going to meet Lyle, who has a very different personality and a very different circumstance around what turned him into, and I don't know if I like that language, into an amputee. We're going to talk about the Mid-Island Amputee Support Group as well. We're taking a short break. Still to come today, going fishing with my dad. A wheelchair won't stop me. Got your double-double and aiming for the bullseye in Kamloops.
Did you know that this MRI scanner magnetic fields is 30,000 times more powerful than the Earth magnetic field?
You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. The Mid-Island Amputee Support Group has been meeting for about 18 months now, and they do so on the first Wednesday of every month in the rehab section of the Nanaimo Regional General Hospital. We're going to talk more about that later on this edition of Go Island. You're watching the Friday show, and what we tend to do on Fridays is have another look at some of our favorite stories of the past couple of weeks. One is an opportunity that I had to go out on a wheelchair in a boat with a man in a wheelchair. I'll just let the story speak for itself. This is Lyle Horn, and you lost your leg?
My lower limb.
Lower limb.
Below the knee.
Below the knee, how about 36 months ago?
28 months ago.
28 months ago. I should get my timing straight here. Why? What happened?
I found out I was diabetic. I really didn't look after it as well as I should. And I encourage diabetics to look after themselves better. Anyway, I had a small infection under my foot. I decided to cut a small callus off.
On your own?
On my own, with a sterilized scissor. However, it infected slowly. Put lots of polysporin on it, thinking it was going to go away. It didn't. My wife and I were coming up from Phoenix on a bit of a beach trip, and my leg infected very badly. And long and the short of it, $2,800 later, in Bandon, Oregon, I was told to get on a plane and fly back up to Vancouver. After that, I was moved out to Abbotsford, and I had a big toe removed. But once you lost your big toe, you lose 50% of your weight-bearing capability. Mm-hmm. So I fought with this for over 2 years, drugs, operations, etc. And then the other 4 bones started to break down. And after spending $8,400 a month in drugs, I decided that it's time to have my leg taken off. And in retrospect, I should have done it 2 years earlier.
Mm-hmm. That seems such a surreal statement to hear. I decided to get the rest of my leg taken off, because people think it's one of the worst imaginable things that could happen to somebody.
Well, pain's an awful thing to deal with for 2 years. So
right.
Anyway, and the drugs, your immune system and all the rest of it, it just wasn't functioning that well anymore.
So your story is very different than Kathy. She didn't know what it was like to have the full limb. And people talk about phantom feelings and phantom pains. Did you think you had a leg even when you didn't?
Well, it's weird. Here we are 28 months later, and sometimes you have an itchy toe on your right foot, where I don't have any toes there, obviously. And it's not too bad. It comes and goes, but like all other amputees, you have to learn to make adjustments to these little inconveniences, I call them.
Mm-hmm. I always think of kids. You know, kids are so curious. I'm kind of just a big kid at heart, because I'm pretty curious too. But if I saw someone out on the street with a missing arm, my first thought is, what happened? Mm-hmm. Does it, and I know every individual is an individual. Are you okay with people coming up to you and saying, what happened?
Absolutely.
I think that will go towards breaking down stigmas that people have.
I think it would help make them aware, and perhaps they talk to other people about the experience and inform them that this could happen to you as well, right? And there are support groups enabled to talk you through these things and some of the challenges you're going to go through, and I think that's very important.
Okay. Well, we're going to talk about the Mid-Island Amputee Support Group. Lyle was a founding member. It's a very Canadian thing to do, get together and support each other, and Canada Day is coming up on July the 1st, so we're having a little look in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way about what it means to be Canadian, eh? You're watching Go Island on Shaw TV Channel 4. Lyle Horn is a founding member of the Mid-Island Amputee Support Group. And how many people come out, and why is it so successful?
I think people want to talk about their experiences, and also to find out how they could do things better. And we started out with 5 or 6 people, and now it's getting into 10 to 15 range.
And some nurses from Victoria came up to see what you guys are doing?
4 or 5 nurses came up at their last meeting, and they want to set up an amputee group, a support group, and they wanted to come up and just see what we were doing.
Excellent.
So that was excellent.
It's hard to believe that the group didn't already exist and there aren't one like it in Victoria already. Being an amputee all your life, you didn't think that you'd get anything out of a group like this?
Right. I kind of thought I knew it all. I'd experienced it all, and my or on the flip side, that my experience was so unique, nobody would understand. So it was very comforting to be able to go to the group and see that everybody is kind of dealing with the same stuff, and it was surprising, actually, very comforting.
Excellent. Okay, and they meet on they meet on the first Wednesday of every month at the rehab lab. What time is the meeting?
It starts at 4 o'clock, runs till 5:30.
Excellent. Okay, we'll give you more information on how you can get in touch with the Mid-Island Amputee Support Group after we head into the interior of BC somewhere. I think we're golfing today for Big Summer. Yeah, so that wasn't really about golfing at all. It was archery in Kamloops, another installment from our Big Summer series that we'll run through until September, showcasing things that you can do on road trips across the province. That brings us to the end of this edition of Go Island. A couple of things to mention. It's been such a pleasure getting to know Lyle and Kathy from the Mid-Island Amputee Support Group. If you'd like more information on the group, you can phone them 250-751-3709, or they're on Facebook. If you search them in Facebook, their page will come up. One more thing to mention before we go. It is free fishing for the family this weekend, running right through until Sunday, which is Father's Day. No licenses required. You can even borrow rods without having to pay at various locations, because there are events taking place all over Vancouver Island. The best place to get all the details, because there's too many to list here, is online, www.bcfamilyfishingweekend.com. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching Go Island. We'll see you next time.
Lakeside Dental Clinic Go Island is brought to you by Lakeside Dental Clinic, a division of the Vancouver Island Implant Centre, delivering dental services, including dental implants and sedation dentistry, all under one roof. Clothing supplied by Catwalk Fashions. Kait's Hair and Aesthetics provided by Maffeo Salon.